Hello and welcome. Hopefully, you can hear us here on the live stream. We've just had some technical stuff we're working through, which is fine because today we're talking about pretty technical things, Navarre.
We are indeed. So this has kind of been a big build-up for us over the last couple of months. I know I've showed you some sneak peeks a few weeks back,
Mm-hmm.
and so we thought instead of just doing our usual release it out and not make a fuss about it, that would make a bit of an event out of it, so everyone can see it. I can explain some things, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, sure. So looks like Gavin, we can see you. Alan, Kylie, great to have you with us today as we go through this because it is a pretty big step change, right? Like for what you've built and what investors can do with it. So good to see Glenn James in the chat as well. Hello, Glenn. Good to see you. My Little Money or / Money, Money, Money. That's what I should be saying. Good to see you, mate, up in Newcastle. But it has been a bit in the making, right?
It has been a bit in the making. So, I mean, I guess you've seen this since I'm working in the office that AI has become a huge part of my everyday life. And I've been using AI now for the last couple of years, fairly early on when ChatGPT came out. And I've been kind of ranting and raving about it to anyone who will listen, that you got to get on this. Like if you're listening now and you still don't use AI, you got to get on it. I'll keep the swearing to a minimum, but imagine there's a swear word in there because that's how important this is. And so it got to a point a couple of months ago where not only have I been using AI a heap, but everyone else in my team has as well for non-technical things too. So while I use it mostly for software engineering, Tom, my co-founder, was using it for marketing stuff and helping with writing copy and all sorts of things. And we thought, well, if we're using AI so much in everything else that we're doing, why does our product not have any AI stuff in it? So that's kind of how it has come about and why we've added it to the product and how we've got to this point. But I just wanted to put it in a bit of context. So there's been a few big technological shifts over the decades, well, over the last kind of 100, 200 years, and each one's brought with it a pretty profound step change in how we do things. So back in the 1860s, the ticker tape made its debut. So before that, the stock tickets. So before that, people were running around with pieces of paper with prices written on them called runners, and they were taking it around from around Wall Street, so people knew what the prices of stocks were doing. And then the ticker tape got invented by a guy named Edward Callahan, who was an American Telegraph Company employee. So this kind of happened around the time of the telephone, and now brokers didn't have to be on the physical trading floor. They could see the price changes in kind of real time. And that came along with the telephone. And then if we fast forward a bit to 2007, when the iPhone was released, that's arguably the biggest kind of tech breakthrough or presentation the world's ever seen. And I still watch that one every now and then because it's just so epic. But that was the reason that was so big, is because Apple took things that already existed. So we had MP3 players, a phone, and a web browser, and was able to combine them into a single product with a groundbreaking interface and bringing that technology together. And now we couldn't really imagine going day to day without a phone. Literally everyone has a phone these days. So the reason I'm bringing these up is not because I claim that I'm the next Steve Jobs, although Tom, my co-founder, did want me to wear a black turtleneck for this.
Well, someone also did say it looks like you've had a haircut, Mr. Dradis. Yeah. I don't think he
I've
has,
had a
though.
beard cut.
It actually, yeah, that's very trim actually. Well
It
done.
is. It's a lot sharper,
Yeah,
but we'll
well,
see.
maybe it's for the big presentation, big reveal today.
Exactly. So now that AI has come about, we thought, well, why not combine this kind of unique, groundbreaking interface with the technology we already have? And we think in combining those two things that we'll make something pretty special that historically it's the professionals in the finance space get access to these cool things. And then if we're lucky, it bubbles down and we get access to it. This kind of gives us a really unique opportunity where we can forget about what the pros are doing or not doing. We can provide this to our customers now by combining AI with our existing product and allowing people to interact with their portfolio in a way that they've never been able to do before. So that's kind of the how and why that we've got here. So I figured what I'll do is I'll give you a bit of a screen share
See if we can bring this up here.
on what some of this stuff can do.
Yeah, great. Marcus, thank you for that. And it is shown on screen. So Navarre and the team in Navexa have been a bit of a tease. So I think it is worth it. And I think it's a sign of what's to come.
We have.
So let's try and blow this up for people here. There we go.
We love a good tease with these things. So I'm hoping it will deliver on the hype. So if you're familiar with Navexa, I'll give you a really brief rundown if you don't even know what Navexa is. So Navexa is a portfolio tracker and tax reporting platform based here in Australia. And what we're all about is showing you your actual performance. And that's splitting it into the metrics you can see across the top here. So we've got capital gain, income return, which is a metric many investors have never seen, currency gains. If you're invested in foreign holdings, we show you what the currency movement does to your performance. And then a total return, which is, again, something a lot of investors have never seen before. So that's what we're all about from the performance side. And then on the tax side, we do full investment tax reporting across capital gains tax and your investment income as well. So that's what Navexa is all about. And what I want to show you, so this is the interface. I won't really go through this too much, and we'll jump to the AI. But you can see we've got a new menu item up the top, Navexa AI. And we've also got a new pull-out drawer on the side saying Navexa AI. Now, this gives you access to both functionalities, whichever way you prefer to use it. And we're kind of going to see what people prefer as they go. So this is kind of the main AI workspace is what we're calling it.
Can you blow that up a little bit for us, like as in the text size? Is that possible?
I can zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, cool. Perfect.
That might work. So there's a few things. So you've got your usual kind of Chat GPT or Claude looking interface. You can type stuff down the bottom. We also give you some of these demo prompts. So if we click on what can you do, for example, it pre-fills the prompt and then it loads a bunch of stuff here on what Navexa AI can do. Now, if we type in, well, I don't have to type this one in because it's here. How's my portfolio performing this year? It'll go away and do its thing. And then loads up your performance with the breakdown I showed you on the other screen for 1st of Jan to or 31st of December. So it'll come up to the current day and gives you your current return. And so you can do all sorts of things around this, like what's my performance for all time? And that will go away and recalculate your portfolio performance for all time. So it gives you really kind of quick speed to the questions you have.
So this is pulling all the data that is already being automated into Navexa.
Yep.
And it's not just like a usual chatbot, as in like presets, like something you'd see from like the Telstra team or something like that, where it's like just preset like workflows. It's actually like you could type in just random stuff here and see what happens, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like a rigid kind of workflow type or a flow chart almost interface that you've seen with those kind of help bots. What we're doing here is taking what you've typed in and using AI to interpret what you're looking for, and then translating that into an instruction for Navexa to execute. So in kind of layman's terms is AI is not doing any of the calculations because it actually kind of sucks at maths,
Yeah.
which surprises a lot of people. We use all Navexa's code and logic to produce all these results. We're just using AI to interpret what you've typed in to what we need to do. So if I type in, show me all my holdings, and
Paul, while that's loading, Paul's just said, I do not have all the AI tab on my Navexa desktop. Why is that?
it's not released yet. So this
more teasing says.
you got to be here to see it. That's the point. So I'll be releasing this in a couple of hours after this live stream. So all the stuff you see here, you'll be able to play around with really shortly. So I've just typed in show me all my holdings. We get the summary again up the top. And then in here, we can see that's an outrageous return on that crypto.
Jeez. Dogecoin. Elon was right the whole time.
He was. So you can see all the stocks here. And for this portfolio, which is quite large, this gives you a hell of a lot of information. There's a lot of stocks there. But we can then say things like group by sector.
There's also ETFs and funds and stuff and crypto and everything in there. It's not just stocks.
That's right. There's ASX stocks, US stocks, crypto, custom investments,
managed funds,
all sorts of things. So I just typed in group by sector, and if we scroll up, you can see it's now grouped all of our returns into the various sectors, giving us the total return, the capital gain, the income return for each one. So you can have a look. And maybe you go, show me my tech stocks.
You know, one thing I've always thought, like, maybe this is not in this version. I'm just speaking. So there's no script here, so I'm just firing from the hip.
Yeah.
You know, like, I would love to be able to see, like, this is kind of getting there, like, where my best performance comes from.
Yeah.
You know, like, so sectors and all that sort of stuff. But even things like, you know, are some investors good investors just because they pick one good investment? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, kind of that. That's what we in
like that Dogecoin,
like
example.
That Doge thing. Yeah. No, but you know what I mean. Like, a lot of people have one really good stock and or ETF or whatever, crypto, and it does really well. But does that make them a good investor? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's kind of what our performance metrics reveal, because we split it into those different components, but then we also annualize the return as well. So anyone can kind of fluke it with a big one-off return, but it's like, can you do that for the next 30 years? Is your annualized return something to talk about for 30 years? Or is it you nailed it this year and then never again do you do anything good? And that's quite a lot of people. So I did type in what are my tech stocks, and it has given me a whole bunch of other things that aren't tech stocks. So that's one of the things where this first version isn't going to be absolutely perfect with the types of things that we can interpret, but that's where we're heading.
Yeah. There's been a few questions here. So Glenn's asked a question. If you had a cash account that was fed through the platform, can you exclude it from the reports, or can you do reports and exclude holdings?
Yeah, so because Navexa has an advanced filtering system, so you can filter the reports to any way you want. So I should be able to ask, what's my performance excluding cash? I've got a spelling mistake in there as well, just to really test it. And if it works right, it will apply that filter when it shows the performance. So it's just showing us the all time. But that's one of those things we'll be able to quickly fix up so that it can filter those things.
So That's probably actually a useful thing to talk about with people here today, because we expected, or you expected, that there would be a lot of questions and feedback from just today's live show that you can go away
Yeah,
and add in. So these are the types of things that you want to hear from people today as well, right?
big time. And so we're logging every question that you put in the conversations, and you can see there's a thumbs up and thumbs down under the bottom of every response.
Mm.
And basically, the more you use it and use those things to indicate that, like in this case, what's my performance excluding cash, and it didn't do it, I'd give it a thumbs down. And then we'll know on behind the scenes that, oh, they asked something, it didn't return the exact right thing. So now we can go and fix that up.
Yeah.
And the beauty of this developing for the AI stuff is traditionally the interface part is actually the most difficult part to design. So calculating the numbers and getting it into a particular format is easy, but then trying to display it in a way that makes sense to everyone is really tricky.
Yeah.
But using an AI interface, the interface design is way easier because we just have to display it in this chat window. There's not like 10 different options and toggles and things that you can do. It's all just what you type in. So it's a lot easier for us to kind of quickly iterate on these kind of developments. So I'll show you a few other things it can do. So I can say, what's my performance of my CBA holding for, 2024? And this will go away and calculate the performance of my CBA holding from 1st of Jan 24 to 31st of December. And so we can see, oh, I've got 121 shares, total returns this, capital gains this. And you can see one of the suggestions is what dividends has CBA paid me? So if I click that one, it will then go away and now give me a list of all the dividends that CBA has paid me for all time. So in this case, we've had 2,600 in total dividend, including franking credits, or 1,800 net. And you can come down here and see all the different ones. So you can also do things like show me the dividends from 2024, and then that will apply a date range filter. So now we're just seeing the dividend payments and in context as well. So it knows that we were talking about CBA, which is kind of the beauty of this whole AI stuff, is it's really advanced with the language.
So Glums has just said you've got 4,657 alerts in the top right corner of your Navexa account. You better get cracking.
I better get cracking on that.
That's all the AI.
Exactly.
Yeah, Graham's got 900. Sorry.
So you can do some other cool things. So if I type in, am I diversified? And that's terrible spelling.
It's all right. You got a mic in your face. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was talking about there. Am I diversified?
Do you reckon there'll be one version of this in the near future where you could talk to it?
Oh, absolutely. So that's coming soon.
So you better talk to your Navexa account. You better talk to your portfolio, basically.
Yeah, so we're putting this feature into the app in the next kind of few weeks. I noticed Nick was in the chat earlier. He's actually doing the app changes. And then from the app, there'll be a voice mode. And we'll even add a voice mode into the web version as well, because I talk to AI all the time. I think you do as well.
Yeah. It's much easier when you're driving.
Yeah, so it'll be really good. You driving along, you can start a convo and make some moves on what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So I just asked it, am I diversified? And it's given us a sector allocation information. So we can see all the different sectors that we have and what our allocation and value is for each one of those things. And then we can even see down the bottom, it's given us some insights. So your portfolio is heavily concentrated in your top 3 sectors. Good sector diversification with exposure to 13 different sectors. So you can also say, show me diverse.
Uh-oh, here we go again.
Vacation. I've spelled it wrong again. By industry. It's hard with this microphone, but we'll see if it can figure this one out. There you go.
There you
Nailed
go.
it. So now we've got industry allocation, and we can see the different industries and how the split works here. So
yeah, cool.
Showing us 15 to 21.
Can I ask a question about this before someone else asks it in the chat or what have you? One of the things with this is with the whole, like you guys at Navexa get a shed load of data on people, right?
Yep.
Like their portfolio holdings, I should say. So you've got like, this is a demo account, unless it's yours, it's buying Shiba Inu. Maybe it is.
No, this is a demo.
I don't know. Anyway.
I would say that though, wouldn't I?
So, like, people are fearful with AI and privacy and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
How does this factor in to the equation?
Yeah, so the cool thing about how it works at the moment is none of the data actually gets sent to AI. So how we're using it is AI is just translating what you've typed in. We send that to AI along with a big list of here's the things Navexa can do. And all AI is doing is saying, well, when I asked, show me diversification by industry, AI would return back to Navexa, the user is looking for diversification, a parameter is industry, and then it would run the code in Navexa's end saying, we'll run the diversification code and do it by industry, and then we return it.
So the only thing that gets sent to Navexa, to AI is the text here, but then the other thing is your code is sent to Navexa effectively to match it. Like it's like, is that what am I wrong?
Yeah, so it's just mapping what you've typed in to what code in Navexa it should run.
Okay, so rather than anyone's personal info going back and forth,
yep,
it's just the instruction.
Exactly, and then even the response is generated by Navexa, not AI, so that we can keep it nice and consistent. Because if you've done anything with ChatGPT or whatever before, you can ask it the same question and you'll get not only a different response, but even a different format. Sometimes it'll give you a table, sometimes it won't. So that's why we're doing it this way. But that doesn't mean that at some point in the future we won't send data to the AI as we get a bit more advanced in that space, and we'll take precautions in that sense as well, because we can do things like send data with no identifiable stuff, and then it's just data that no one would be able to identify anyway. But we're not at that point just yet anyway.
Can I ask another question here? Rubayat has asked, how are you mitigating against users trying to use this AI as like a stock picking, like recommendations type thing?
Yeah, well, let's find out.
Let's see what it says. So give me your best stock pick.
Yeah, what stock should we buy? So it'll basically say, I can't help with that. The request is not supported. So that's impossible to get it to do based off how we've designed it, because like I was explaining before, it would send that to AI saying, which Navexa code should we execute? And Navexa's like, I don't have any code that can tell you what stock you should buy. So we're going to return this message saying we can't help with that. So that's kind of the good part about us controlling what code it's running and the response, is that you literally can't get it to, well, you can't fool it into giving you advice, because we're not getting a response from AI that we're showing you at the moment.
Because it's the code that's coming back. It's like the Navexa code that's coming back.
Exactly. So that's how we protect against those things at the moment.
Okay. So, I've got a lot of questions, but one come from Matt here, which is, because we talked about this on the podcast recently, can it run tax strategies / scenarios? Like the other stuff you can run in Navexa.
Yeah, let me show you some cool stuff around tax. This again is probably the area I'm most excited about with this stuff. So if we say, what's my current tax liability? And we'll let it do its thing. So now it'll give us the tax overview for the current financial year in, so 25-26. And you can see we've got a total capital gain of $1,300, and then we get the summary of how that's calculated underneath, and you can see we've got $370 of investment income. So, of course, this financial year just started, so there isn't going
You
to
make
be
an excuse for your returns.
That's right. So there isn't going to be much data in there at the moment. But one of the cool tax things, and this is probably my favorite feature of the AI so far, is I can say, what if I sold 50% of my CBA holding?
Poor CBA.
I'm just using them as an example.
So,
So what it does now is it runs a simulation, so you can see selling 50% of CBA, which would result in 10,900. It's using the minimized CGT strategy because we have that set in the tax reporting. It's then showed us the price that'll be roughly whatever the price is at the moment. It even then tells us which parcels will be affected based off the CGT strategy. So off the min CGT strategy, these are the CBA parcels that would be sold. And then underneath, it breaks down what our estimated tax liability would be of this particular trade.
Wow.
So now, and this is a feature I personally really want, is that a lot of people I've talked to, and this goes across stocks and crypto, is there's been moments where you've hesitated to make a trade because you're not sure what the tax implication is going to be. And in that moment, you either don't make the trade, which is potentially a bad decision, or you do make a trade and have no idea what the tax liability is going to be. And then come July, August, you're like, oh crap, that was a huge gain that I now have to pay tax on. So having a feature like this means you can now ask it, well, what if I did this exact trade? It's going to be able to give you the exact tax liability for that particular trade. So you can do all sorts of things like be more specific, like what if I sold $1,000 worth of CBA? Some more spelling mistakes, test it out. So now you can see in the simulation we're selling $1,000 worth, and it's showing the same price as before, and then gives us the tax impact. So you can get quite specific with it, which is going to be really good for making tax moves. Probably this would have been very good in the last kind of few weeks to do some kind of tax moves before end of financial year, but it's here now.
But you could, if you were going to see your accountant in a few weeks or months, you could jump into this with the accountant sitting there and be like, what was my income for last year? What was my long-term capital gains? Like literally just sit with the accountant and go like,
yeah,
because
it's the kind of stuff the accountant always asks me as well. It's like, oh, what were the dividends for this and what was that?
Yeah.
And you can just, cool, I'll type it in. Maybe you even can whip the voice mode
Yeah,
out.
you might have it
we've
up by
got it
then.
in time.
Are you going to do like an accent, or is it just going to be a plain computerized?
I don't know. I think initially it'll just be the voice can go in, but you'll have to read the response. But we'll need to think about, I mean, if Nick's in the chat, this will be for you, but we'll need to think about what kind of voice Navexa is going to have.
Well, everyone gives you great feedback on your podcast voice, so
that's right.
So there are a few questions in here, just real quick if I can. So John asked about calculating for a particular tax year, which you showed you could do.
Yep.
There's one here from Joseph, and similar to Graham's, could Navexa compare the dividends from CBA with another bank, for example, or another holding? Is that possible?
Not at the moment, but that's exactly the kind of stuff that we'll be watching the logs for. The more interesting things you try and ask it to do, even if it can't do it, we'll be watching what people want and then be able to rapidly deliver on it. Because like I was saying before, it's so quick to build new functionality for this kind of interface because we don't have to worry about, well, do we need a date range selector up here? And do we need this other toggle here? Do we need our filtering system here? It's just, you just display the result. So if that's something you want, like type it in a bunch of times and we'll see that you're asking for it. And
a lot of thumbs down. Glenn asks one more. Given it's AI and the data's out there, do you think you'd ever implement some type of hypothetical projections of one's portfolios. So even things like simple, like not financial advice, but just, you know,
Yeah, like based off previous
yeah.
performance. Absolutely. I think this is going to be a big feature. So this can also do some charting at the moment. So if I go show me a performance chart for, we'll go 2024, should be data for that. This should now give us our total return performance chart, so we can see
Huh.
how it's gone for the 2024 year. So we have the ability to be able to do this kind of stuff. We can also say compare with the benchmark. It should, yeah, there you go, reloads it compared to the S&P 500 ETF we have selected on the other screen. But yes, showing projections in here would be really cool to say, because we have projections for income. So we can say, what's my forecasted
Yeah, this is the big one, particularly for
income
retirees.
for next 12 months? And this will go and do its thing, and then it will give us a forecast from
Yeah, right.
July onwards. So how this forecast works is it basically takes all the stocks you have, looks at what they paid out last year, and then we just assume they're going to pay the same again, which, as everyone knows, that changes. But for a lot of the big banks and stuff, it doesn't really change all that much. So it just gives you a quick rough indication that, oh, cool, I'm going to get 13 grand over the next 12 months. So a lot of these are the existing reports we have. So the income calendar is what this code's running behind the scenes to get us this forecast. But forecasting is something that we're getting more and more questions about. So it's definitely something we're going to be looking at. And again, keep typing in those questions, and we'll be getting that feedback pretty quickly that's what you're after.
Yeah, that's what MCD said. You'll be watching when we actually start playing with it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Ash asked a question. Hey, Ashish, good to see you. The tax stuff looks great, but I'll blow this up for everyone. But most of the time, my accountant says it's not in the format as he expects tax software formats. What's that in reference to?
I mean, I have theories on that, but I'll be nice. It would be interesting to know what formats they're expecting, because typically the capital gains tax report in Navexa breaks down all the parcels and how it was calculated. So it's like, what more could you want? But maybe there is some more that they might want that would be able to implement if that's helpful. But typically you can, as a customer, just share access to your portfolio with your accountant, and then they can come in and look at every trade and go through every detail and see exactly how it's all calculated. So maybe
Yeah,
the
okay.
report extract isn't enough, and they want to see the proof of, well, where are the trades. If you just share them access, they'll be able to come run all this themselves and have a look at the trade and dividend data automatically.
Ash has followed up with a different question. Can I also look at my sold holdings and answer questions such as, can you share some of the sold holdings where share price of today is greater than 15% of my sold price? So that's a good one. Tracking what you've sold. If I did that, I feel like I would just not sleep for the next 2 days.
I know that AI won't be able to do that yet. You can ask it things like, what was my last 5 trades, for example. And this was a feature I literally developed yesterday. Given us the last 5 trades entered to the system, so 3 of which were a DRP, and then you've got a sell and a buy there as well. So this kind of feature will be developing quite a bit more, because there's a lot of interesting info you might want to ask, like, show me trades that I've held longer than 12 months, so you can see what trades qualify for the CGT concession. And there's all sorts of, now that we have this base functionality, there's a lot of questions that will now stack on top of this that we'll be watching for to see,
So like variants of that same thing.
Yeah, so it's all well and good getting your last 5 trades, but now somebody might be like, "Well, what were my last 5 trades that were like the question that were greater than 15% of whatever?" Those will be the things we're looking for. I'm like, "Cool, we can add that kind of filtering." So
Here's a question from LC. If I had used minimize CGT from ShareSite and plan on migrating to Navexa, will that info be migrated using the migrating tool?
it will. So if you use the API link we bring across the strategies, if you even doing it manually, you can select minimize CGT anyway. The calculation will be the same.
Okay. Craig says, how does it work with combined portfolios? So I think I'm guessing Craig's talking about like if you had like an individual account, a company account, or different portfolios within the main.
So ignore my a million test portfolios here.
Oh, there's some interesting ones there.
There's a portfolio group feature. So you can combine multiple portfolios into a single view. And so if we scroll down, you can see all the tags of which portfolio all these things were in.
Ah.
And then so we can go.
So then you could pull apart the performance of. Yeah, right. Okay.
So now you can use the AI on top of that portfolio group. And
so just to confirm, if I had like my wife's account in here,
yep,
as a different portfolio, and then I had like family trust or bucket company or something like that, I could see it that way as well.
Exactly. So you can have them all individually for the tax reporting and performance, but then you can have a combined view across all of them to see how, as a family, your performance is going. And it's quite useful with diversification and things as well. Depending on how you're investing, you might realize, oh crap, we've bought Apple a bunch of times in all these different entities or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe we need to sort that out.
Buy more Apple.
Yeah. So, yep, you can use it as a portfolio group. So just like all the other features, whatever's selected up in the top left is what you're operating on. So when we're in the AI with the group selected, all the AI questions are now running against that group.
That's cool. Okay. Ryan and Jane say, not AI related, but you mentioned in another podcast about integrating property. I think we spoke about that. Is this still in consideration? Cheers, cobbers. So the ability to have property.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting one. You can add property in a primitive way at the moment using custom investments. But what it doesn't track is things like debt, like mortgages. And you can add things like rental payments and stuff in as income, but we don't track expenses. So while you can track it in some way, it's not kind of full, first class citizen type feature where it's designed for property. But there is a feedback request on our feedback website at feedback.navexa.io. And there's a bit of a debate going on in there where some people are like, do not add property tracking. We want you to just be hardcore at stocks and crypto and the stuff we're doing now. And then there's a bunch of other people saying, please do add property because we really want it. So
let's ask the community that's watching now, would you want property in Navexa? Why do people say they don't want it in there?
They are worried that we will dilute ourselves across too many different types of investments. So the worry is that if we start doing property tracking, then we'll neglect what we're doing with stocks or with crypto, which is a valid concern because every business has limited resources, so we can't do it all. But that's the reason people are worried. I don't think they would care if we added it and everything else was still awesome. They're just conscious that other things might not get touched while we're focusing on that. So
here's maybe a programming nerdy question for you. Just knowing what you know about what it would take to build something like that, roughly how long would it take you to deploy even like an MVP of that?
It's a good question because there's so many levels to it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we add property tracking, somebody will be like, oh, well, can you pull valuation feeds from Core Logic so that the price updates automatically? And then there'll be other questions. Oh, can it like integrate with my bank account where all the rental payments get received and start syncing that. And while the answer is yes, you can do all of that, it just starts stacking
Yeah.
on what it's going to take. But a non-integrated version would be fairly straightforward. Once we can track performance across debt, so mortgages and even margin loans for stocks
Mm.
as well, that's kind of the big hold up on the property tracking is the debt side of it.
Yep.
But once we add that in, which is on the radar, then property tracking theoretically will be fairly straightforward from there.
Okay. So it's a bit of a hung parliament here. Some
Yeah.
saying yes, some saying no. I can understand why people would want that though, because if they had like a dashboard of all their wealth, like Navexa could do that
Oh yeah.
in theory. Like you could have property, you could have shares, ETFs, crypto, super, like
Yeah.
so many different things.
And it makes it like we owned an apartment for a few years as an investment,
Yeah.
and it annoyed me because I couldn't track it, so I couldn't tell you. It
Yeah.
performed terribly. I didn't need performance tracking to know that, but I would have liked it to been in there. And I know plenty of other people would like to track property performance because it's one of those really tricky things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone always said, "Oh, I bought it for this and sold it for this," and it's like, yeah, what about everything in the middle? All the interest, all the expenses, the insurances. So it
Mm.
would be cool to track it.
What about
Uh,
watch list?
yeah, watch list is a really cool one that we will probably add into the system. It's been kind of on our list of things to do since the beginning, but it's just one of those things we wanted to keep going deep on what we're good at with the performance tracking. And then there's plenty of other apps that do watch listing that people like to use anyway. Like most brokerage account apps, like your ComSec app or whatever, has a watch list. But if the demands for it's there, we will definitely add it in and put it in the app as well.
Yeah, cool. So
Yeah.
probably got time for a couple more questions if folks want to reach out. A few people saying superannuation would be good. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Maybe while we just call for some last questions here, where do you like? You're the one that's making this stuff. Where do you think this could be? I don't know, 12 months, 6 months, 2 years, whatever. Like, what is getting you excited about what this could do?
Yeah. So the things we've talked about internally that we absolutely want to do is AI is really good at reading through mountains of text and coming up with summaries. And so be able to ask like what was my performance for this year, and you get the result like we showed you before, and then maybe being able to ask why do you think the performance is like that, and then if it can start pulling in news events from your portfolio and summarizing the hundreds or thousands of news events that happened and go, well, actually this thing happened with Tesla a few months a bit back, which tanked it, or this thing happened over here in this sector that you didn't know about. Being able to provide more context and the reason why performance is happening is not only really possible to do with the current AI environment, but that's something we'll be looking at adding super quick.
Mm,
And then the possibilities are kind of endless. Like every person that I've shown this to, it triggers that like, oh, what if it could do type response.
yeah.
And so as you start using it, and this is why I'm really excited to see what kind of questions people put in, because they'll be able to get the performance and they'll be, oh, but what if I could now ask it to do this? What if it could now rebalance my portfolio? What if it could now like
Mm,
do X, Y, Z? And so we're hoping we can kind of crowdsource a lot of those good ideas from what people are putting in and then be able to rapidly develop on that. But the pace of AI, even this year, like we're in July now, and the development it's gone through is insane. And so over the next 6 months, it will get better at doing maths and things as well, which will open up a lot of possibilities for calculations that were not possible in the past. One other thing that we're quite interested in is the community insights aspect. So
Yeah.
we do sit on a lot of data across all sorts of investors, from beginners to absolute professionals, from people with like a grand invested up into like the tens of millions. And it would be really interesting to know how, for example, how am I doing compared to other portfolios of the same size? Like if I have 100K invested, how am I doing compared to other people with 100K invested? And being able to have a chat with AI about that,
Yeah.
and even potentially being able to see, well, what kind of things are other people holding that I'm not holding?
Yeah.
So there's a ton of possibilities to do where, as a group, everyone can improve together rather than everyone operating in their individual little silo and
Mm.
not getting access to that information. So
We've had Maxwell and Paul ask a very similar question here, which is basically, is there a way to look through ETFs to find internal diversification? Whether that comes through the AI tool or just in general, like, is that possible?
that's one of our most requested features at the moment, and it's definitely on the radar to do. We just need to nail down a good data source for that information, which is
It's always tricky, isn't it?
notoriously difficult.
Yeah.
But as we get that information, we definitely will, because I've had the same thoughts around with the AI, being able to chat about, oh, what's actually in IVV, and then like seeing what's in there and being like, oh, do I own that particular stock across other ETFs as well? And it being able to highlight, yeah, you actually have it in this one and this one as well. And you go, oh, maybe I don't want that, or maybe I want more of that, or whatever it is. It's going to be a really cool one to do.
This is a question from Who's Finance, not specifically related to today's discussion. That's okay. But are there any plans to add journaling to Navexa? Will be super helpful with the Navexa AI all under one roof.
I've heard this a bit over the last year, and it's particularly coming from the trading community. And I'd like to learn more about it. I've spoken with someone in the last week who sent me through their journaling spreadsheet, which looks super interesting.
What does that mean?
I think it's like tracking the trades that they're doing, because they're like buying and selling quite rapidly, like multiple times a day. It's journaling all the trades and like why they were done and whether they win or a loss and that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So it's for a particular type of strategy. Correct me if I'm wrong, whoever asked that question. But if you've got some info around that on things you'd like to see, definitely send it through. Put it on the feedback website, actually.
Feedback.navexa.io.
IO. Yep. And we'll check that out.
Okay, cool. Let's just have a quick look for some last questions. Here's one from Ash again. Is it possible for Navexa AI to find out the return of a stock between two dates? And also, what are the best performing or worst performing periods for a stock?
We can definitely do the first one. So what's the performance of CBA from, I don't know, 1st of June 2023 to 30th of June 2024? Whoops. So you can definitely ask it questions like that, and then it will give you the performance. So 1st of June 23, 30 June 24, and show you what your capital gain and income return, etc., was in
It's
that
been a good time for CBA.
Yeah. The second part of the question,
Best performing and worst performing periods for that particular stock.
not yet, but that is quite cool.
Yeah. So like you could then measure like drawdowns or like boom times and cycles and stuff. I feel like a lot of the things that we've talked today, I feel like there's nothing that anyone has said today that you're like, oh, that won't happen. Like there's nothing that anyone's come up with.
Yeah.
Other than there was one question earlier on about someone's parents not loving them.
Oh,
But
that was, I know that guy.
But other than that one, AI and you together with your data, that's really, really cool. To be able to see that this is just the beginning, right? This is just cracking the surface. So final question from Owen. What was the performance of IVV versus VAS in the trailing 12 months? Do you want to chuck that in? So IVV versus VAS last 12 months.
Of IVV versus VAS in the last 12 months. I don't think it will be able to do this, but it does surprise me from time to time. I tried to do a chart, but didn't quite get. It got IVV, but not VAS. But that's exactly the kind of features that we want to add in, because those kind of comparisons, that would be super useful.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of questions for like a back testing tool as well. So like the what if I bought 10 grand 5 years ago of CBA to see what it did. So that is one of the next features kind of coming off the ranks for the AI stuff. But again, like Owen was just saying, we've spent the last few months putting down this groundwork. So there's a lot of technical infrastructure has gone in behind the scenes to make this possible. Now that that's there and in place, we can like rapidly add new features. So as we see people asking those, oh, what was this versus this type prompt, we're like, cool, we'll add that in. And then like a couple of days later, that prompt will start working. So really just encourage everyone to get in there, like really put it through its paces and use the thumbs up and thumbs down. And then we'll be able to make it into something pretty awesome.
So, okay. So then when will this go live?
So it'll go live when I release it after this call. So in the next kind of couple of hours.
Cool. And then is it free or what is it?
So you can, if you're not a customer already, you can sign up for a free 2-week trial. And this is fully available during the trial for you to get your data in and start playing around. And then for all of our other customers, it'll be available to use.
Yeah.
So there is a limit of, I don't think it's like 50 prompts an hour or something, but you probably won't hit that unless you're trying to do something malicious. But yeah, you can basically have free reign at it and really put it through its paces.
That's super cool, mate. So, and now that it's launched or will launch in the next 2 hours, it will get better and better and better and better and better as more people use it.
Exactly. Even like by the end of next week, it'll do some new things because I'll be really watching what people are typing in over the next few days, and there'll be some awesome suggestions where we're like, oh, of course, it should be able to do that, and then we'll be able to add it in. So, yeah, by the end of the year, I'm really excited to see what this could do. I do have one more thing that I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
Show me.
Liam asked, is there a discount code for Raskies? I don't think there's a.
There is.
There is?
Show me my portfolio wrapped for 2024. I nearly forgot that this feature existed.
Oh, this is cool.
So this is our really first version of like a Spotify wrap type thing. So you can click through it and it says your portfolio returned this in 2024.
Huh.
Your portfolio is now worth whatever it is, $500,000. You're well on your way.
Well done, mate.
You earn this much in dividends.
Hmm.
This was your top performer up. I don't even know what that is, actually.
Me neither. I've never seen that.
You better check that out, though. 1,200.
Let's just have a quick Google of this.
2024. And then it gives your investor personality. So you invest like a diversification master.
International Momentum ETF. You're a diversification master?
Yeah.
This is cool. So this will come every year or like last 12 months or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we just give you a bit of a summary of this many trades, this many stocks. So this was our first version of a wrapped, but we got tons of ideas on how we can make that better.
Yeah, cool.
But, that was a bit of an Easter egg. The portfolio wrapped, I believe, just works for years at the moment. I see there's a question there.
From Ash, yeah.
So it's either like for 23 or 2024 or 2025, but wrapped for the financial year would be quite interesting. So we'll be able to adapt that. Make sure you type it in as a question. We'll see it pop up.
Yeah, cool. And can you download that? You can share it, can you?
Those shares
Oh yeah.
will potentially work. You can give them a go. If they don't work,
Yeah.
we'll make them work pretty quickly. But
Okay.
that's the fun part about this from a software engineering point of view is this first version isn't going to be perfect by any means, but we wanted to draw a line in the sand, which was today, because I could keep tinkering with this for the rest of the year and being like, oh, just one more thing,
Yeah.
just one more
Get it
thing.
out there.
So we're getting it out there. Feel free to try and break it and let us know, and we'll make it awesome.
I don't know what the coupon code is for Liam.
It's Rask20.
Rask 20.
Yep, 20% off.
Okay, so Rask 20 is for new users. Rask 20.
Yep.
There you go. Use that on the website. Definitely can vouch for what Owen just said before about Navexa and the team behind it as well, like Navarre, Tom, and the team. It's really awesome. So you can probably sense that from today's chat that this is a big step. And the reason why I got a glimpse into it a few weeks ago, I think it's really amazing is because it's just breaking through. It's like you guys have got all the data, and this is the first time people will be able to use that data in a really easy way. And I imagine in a year or two from now, people would just use that interface.
And that's what we're really interested to see is, does that become the main interface? Like, of course, we'll have both, but it could become with the voice mode. Maybe people don't even use the text interface either. Maybe it's just all voice, but we're keen to see kind of where that goes.
Cool. Well, Navarre, this has been heaps of fun, and yeah, I'm excited for it. So, people, you check it out in the next couple of hours. It will drop on the Navexa site.
It will.
And yeah, get in there, use it, and that will just make it better for everyone. So, great, mate. Kudos to you and the team. Respect. This has been great. So, thank you, and thanks everyone for dialing in today. It's been heaps of fun. Hopefully, we can do a few more of these in the future. But yeah, let Navarre and the team know what you think, and happy investing onwards and upwards.